The Fever is one of those more obvious cautionary tales that the series did very well. It's a simple story written by Serling and directed by Robert Florey that tackles the topic of gambling and addiction in general. Its exaggerated story highlights how easily one can fall into a vice that can take over your entire life. Franklin and Flora Gibbs won a free trip to Las Vegas and are staying at a luxurious hotel and casino. Flora is happy to be on vacation and excited to gamble a little bit. Her uptight husband Franklin, not so much. His stingy attitude is in direct contrast with the environment he's in. He scolds her for wanting to gamble and considers it throwing away money, but when a drunk patron of the casino gives him his last coin and guides his hand to put it into a slot machine, Franklin reluctantly pulls the lever and wins a small jackpot. Later, he hears his name being called by what sounds like tinkling coins and gives in to the temptation of going back to the same machine. Soon enough, he's lost loads of money and hasn't slept for 24 hours. Nothing and nobody can pull him away from trying to hit another jackpot. His once self-important stance of not gambling has given way to an uncontrollable addiction. An addiction that's about to take more than just Mr. Gibbs' cash. On the surface, this episode seemed like it would have had a standard production behind it. It doesn't really feature anything too outlandish for the series, and it mostly takes place in one indoor location. But back when this episode was shot, gambling machines of any kind were illegal in California, so getting the one-armed bandit that's our main villain here was not easy for the production team. They had to retrieve one from the local police department where they were impounded. An officer even had to accompany them on the shoot to make sure no one ended up taking it home. The other considerable challenge was the quote-unquote voice of the slot machine. Franklin! Really great sound design there. Apparently they achieved this by strapping speakers to a male subject's esophagus. They recorded coins tinkling together to match the sound of a slot machine's payout, and those sounds came out of the speakers as the subject mouthed, Franklin! So the noise originated from his throat, which created the unique sound effect. I gotta say, that is very creative and the most distinctive part of the episode. Everett Sloan as Franklin Gibbs, previously in Rod Serling's breakout project, Patterns, delivered an effective performance. The character's not exactly likable before he becomes addicted to the machine. His scenes with his wife show us he's at the very least a really grumpy older guy.
Oh, Franklin, try to enjoy it, won't you?
He also has this self-righteous streak that he uses to justify going back to play the slot machine again.
If there's one thing I know, Flora, it's morality, and I will not have this tainted money smelling up our pockets.
Once Franklin becomes completely addicted, he's an even nastier person.
Flora, will you kindly shut your mouth? Now please go away and leave me alone!
Please, people are listening.
The devil with people!
As much of a jerk as he is, you also start to feel sorry for him. He's completely helpless and a slave to the machine.
It's inhuman, the way it lets you win a little and then takes it all back.
Ultimately, Franklin's last dollar gets stuck in the slot machine. He goes ballistic and knocks it over, demanding his money back. Franklin is carried off back to his room, where he continues to hear his name called. Franklin! 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 He starts seeing it inside his room to the point where he's driven mad. It then slowly stalks him as Franklin steps further back, terrified. Franklin falls to his death, where the slot machine mocks him, rolling his silver dollar back to his lifeless corpse. There's a question as to if the slot machine truly had a mind of its own as Rod Serling's closing narration plays, and the episode ends. The Fever hits the target of what it was aiming to portray, and is an enjoyable Twilight Zone watch. The close-ups they use to show off how people react to the highs and lows of gambling put on display the rush the characters are feeling. The first time Franklin pulls the lever is very ominous, and honestly, kind of sexual. In any case, it illustrates the compulsion that goes along with any addiction, and with its dark ending, The Fever leaves you wanting to keep your vices in check and out of the Twilight Zone.